know what they put in the water, don't you? Fluoride. On the pretext that it strengthens your teeth. That's ridiculous.
The George W. Bush and John F. Kerry skull and bones connection. And unless there's a massive, blatant cover-up on the part of both the left and the right media outlets, nobody is touching this. Bonesmen Bush and Kerry are backed by the same secret society.
According to a recent poll, 49.3% of the people in New York believe that our leaders knew the 9/11 attacks were planned and they intentionally failed to act. And lots of people believe we didn't even land on the moon.
Conspiracy theorists unite. The FDH Lounge gives you an opportunity to conspire to your heart's content.
And so in the weeks and months and hopefully years to come on this program here, we will come at you with any number of different conspiracies, be they in the world of sports, politics, music, movies, celebrities, sports entertainment, sports again, etc. Whatever comes to mind. And trust me, there's enough rattling around in this warped skull of mine alone to sustain us for a while. But the beauty of it is, it doesn't have to be just what's in my head. We've also got some other conspiracy theorists here among the dignitaries of the FDH Lounge, a large and rotating crew of people as well. Much as the segments themselves rotate, so do the members of the FDH dignitary crew when they're able to come in. And Nate just happens to have a doozy of one tonight. I will set the table here and putting it out there, and I will let Nate expound in full detail, as I've heard him do to me numerous times off the air here. Essentially, what it is, if you think back to tonight's topic here, if you think back to the 1998 home run chase, Sosa and McGuire, and when they were coming down the stretch here to 61 home runs and then onward from there to whatever they would end up with, the scramble that there was in terms of the baseballs, people scrambling to sell the baseballs, and the whole process of authentication, and how could we be sure what was really the baseballs being used. Major League Baseball, and this part of it is on the record, but the ramifications are the subject of tonight's conspiracy theory. What is on the record, what is indisputable, is that Major League Baseball started using special baseballs with holograms on them to be able to distinguish so that they could prove which were the home run balls when they were hit. But Nate's theory has to do with specifically what that entailed, how that gave an unfair advantage to the hitters, and how Major League Baseball essentially drummed up the outcome they were looking for. So, Nate, take it from there.
The key point here is that the special balls were only used when Sosa or Bonds, or Sosa and McGuire, I'm thinking Bonds is scary, Sosa or McGuire were at bat. They both got in the mid-50s. Baseball rolls out the hologram balls. We had about, I think, 13 games left in the season, and McGuire went from 61 to 70. I mean, it was insane. He was off the charts with the home runs. I think he hit 3 the next to last day of the season, went from 67 to 70. Sosa went cruising into the 60s as well, thanks to again, they're on pace. You're doing, you're on pace for 61, 62 homers, and they give you the special ball, and all of a sudden you end up with 70 by hitting an extra 9 the last 10 days of the season. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that special hologram ball was leaving the bat a little quicker. And actually, in the last year, I've seen a report that they did some testing on one of those balls, and it had a little more bounce to it, which, again, makes a lot of sense. Major League Baseball, they credit, you can credit McGuire and Sosa for saving baseball. They were coming back out of the lockout. That got fans back into it, the chase and everything. And I think the important thing is, one, that happened. I really believe the special hologram ball is why those guys broke the record. At least they played a major part of it. Certainly has give at least McGuire 5 of his last 70 credit to the ball. But we've got A-Rod in a situation this year. He may chase down Bonds. And we know Bonds is going to chase down Hank. It's coming. And they're probably already using the special ball for Bonds. Why do you think he's got 9 or 10 home runs this season? The ball's just going to keep leaving. Look, throw some roids and a special ball in there where you get. And if A-Rod, he's cooled off during the last week or so, but if he gets anywhere in the zone, expect the ball there, and you may see him hit 81 or so. But I think Major League Baseball certainly tweaked with the ball in the past. The 98 ball was a juiced ball. The ball's been juiced since 97, but the hologram ball was even a level beyond the juicing that they've done to the regular ball. So, that's my theory, that Major League Baseball's playing a little shenanigans with the ball, and home runs sell tickets, and that's what it's about, is money. And they don't really give a crap about the records, or obviously they wouldn't have turned a blind eye to over steroids problems the last few years as well.
Now, Nate, I've asked you this question before off the air, so just bear with me, because I feel like it's one that the listeners need to know to be able to fully digest what you're saying here, because you talked about it a little bit a second ago here in terms of the composition of the baseball and testing showing that the ball was juiced. And I know that's always been the heart of your contention, is that the physical nature of the baseball was altered. What I have also seen, separate from what you're saying, are people saying that because of the holograms being on the baseballs, that it made them easier to pick up in terms of visually at the plate there, that McGuire and Sosa had a little bit of an advantage in terms of being able to see the ball come in. To what extent do you feel like baseball rigged this because of what they did to the baseball physically, and to what extent do you buy into this whole thing about visually it being easier to pick up the ball?
And that's a great sub-point there, Rick. First of all, the ball was wound tighter. Okay, we all know the 98 ball was wound tighter than the 97 ball in all the years prior. The winding the ball tighter means it has a little more carry to it when it leaves the bat. And just think about the 30 or so hits that a guy that hit the warning track each year for a player. Add another 6 feet to that, and half of those 30 become home runs. And guys like McGuire and Sosa, with the power they had, those balls did become home runs. So that part of it can be attributed to the ball being wound tighter, the juice ball. What you just pointed out, Rick, is very important as well. In the game of baseball, it all comes down to fractions of seconds. Fractions of seconds in physics, and the fact that just where the bat hits the ball is the difference between a foul ball and a home run. If you've got that extra advantage of being able to see that ball with the hologram come in and be able to put it in a sweet spot and launch it out of the park, I agree with that. They certainly got some advantage off the hologram as well.
Well, that's very interesting also, because so what you're doing is you're then endorsing the I wouldn't exactly call it a conspiracy theory, but the existing thought out there that baseball, whether and the people who had said this, I'm going to quote their point of view, that baseball intentionally or unintentionally made it easier for the batters. Of course, you feel that absolutely intentionally they made it easier. So on two different fronts then, baseball was working to generate the outcome that eventually ended up happening then in your book.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of it happened a couple of years later with Bonds in '74, and I think they probably regret that now, and they can't stop Bonds from breaking Aaron's record, but they're back at doing the same kind of thing, it looks like. And I don't know how you can explain A-Rod's hot start. He has cooled off, but I think Major League Baseball is certainly capable of doing the same thing as we get down the stretch this season. You can just expect to see when you hear the hologram ball rolled out, folks. The 14 home runs he had the first 3 weeks, look for him to hit at least that many the last couple of weeks when he's using a special ball. Call it wound tighter, call it the extra juice, call it being able to pick it up. Major League Baseball to be smart enough not to do this if they have any integrity whatsoever, and I think we've seen over the last few years that it's very debatable what kind of integrity they have.
Exactly, and in as much as they probably subscribe to the two wrongs make a right theory here, what you said about regretting whatever they did to help Bonds, whether it just be turning a blind eye to drug taking or whether they actively helped him in that season there. Basically, the way that they do business, Nathan, look for them to be throwing baseballs wound like golf balls to A-Rod when August and September come along so they can get him past 73, huh?